First of all, before we even get rolling here, this is a book of newspaper articles that the late J. Miller put together about the Kutztown Park. And he originally showed it to me back when I was fighting cancer in 2011. I'm here, he's not sad, saying he's not, but I thought I'd do a program using much of his material, and I'm going to be asking some of these people to read stuff that you see up here on the program. So sit back, relax, and off we go. This is the story of the Kutztown Park, originally known as Kemp's Woods, told by me. I titled it The Cool Spot. The reason I titled it that is I remember as a kid growing up in the Kutztown Park, at the far north end of the park where there's a big Welcome to Kutztown sign today. There used to be a sign that said, Welcome to the Kutztown Park, the cool spot, and had two big Coca-Cola soda caps on each end. Anybody remember that sign? Okay, nobody remembers that.
Yeah.
No, you don't. I don't remember.
I think I remember.
Okay, that's the main entrance to the Kutztown Park.
Yeah, that's the main entrance.
There's the book I just showed you in the foreword. Would somebody like to read that? Because I can't see it from here. Thank you.
I'll read it. In compiling these articles about the Kutztown Park, I used the Kutztown Patriot, Reading Time, and the Morning Call as my sources of information. It was my intention to use these articles to give the reader an idea of the different events that took place in the Kutztown Park, such as picnics, reunions, band concerts, sports, etc. Not every article was taken from the Patriot, just the ones to give the reader an idea of how the park became known as the park and how the people have enjoyed this fine facility over the years. J. Schlegel.
Now, in the last couple of years, there's a group from Germany called Kemp, who was very interested in our Pennsylvania Dutch language here, and they have paid for bilingual signs in Pennsylvania Dutch and English. And this sign is at the main entrance to the park. If you get the chance to walk up on the park and read it, there's another one in front of the band show. We'll get to that. From its origin to stately wooded parcel to its status as one of the finest gathering places of its kind anywhere, the Kutztown Park has offered residents and non-residents alike a safe and inviting spot for congregating and recreating. This was from an Along-the-Saucony pamphlet, volume 26, 2nd of June 2003, written by Scott Lyman and entitled From Kemp's Woods to Kutztown Park, 1900 through 1910. If you have a copy of that, or you can get a copy of that, it's really interesting reading. It's only a few pages. An article about a picnic in Kemp's Grove from August 8, 1891. That's how far back the Kutztown Park goes. In fact, it goes further back than that. Andy, would you read that one?
Some of the young girls of town held a picnic in Kemp's Grove last Tuesday and spent a very pleasant time. While they were making the necessary arrangements on Monday, Dr. J.S. Traxler by chance received information of the movement and at once volunteered to take their victuals to the grove with his horse and carriage. The offer was thankfully accepted. The young party were favored with fine weather, and they started out for a day of pleasure. At noon, when they were about ready to sit down and enjoy their dinner, they were very agreeably surprised when they saw someone approaching with a very fine watermelon, which was sent to the party as a gift from Dr. Traxler. The following girls constituted the party: Carrie Wink, Debbie Hottenstein, Annie Klein, Mammy Hangstatt, and Gertie Aaron. The young girls tender sincere thanks to the doctor for his kindness.
I thought that was a pretty neat article. John Kemp was the person who owned Kemp's Woods. Along about the turn of the 20th century, John decided to sell Kemp's Woods. The reason being the rapid deployment of the East Penn and Lehigh valleys. Well, that's still going on. The overwhelming sentiment among Kutztown residents was that Kemp's Grove should remain preserved for the benefit of future generations and the betterment of the surrounding community. Fortunately, Mr. Kemp shared the desire to preserve and perpetuate this majestic parcel in its natural state. from the February 17th, 1900 Kutztown Patriot East Kutztown, as that part of town was known, was not annexed until around 910. You got to remember, the north side of the Saucony Creek, that was not in the borough at this time. That was called East Kutztown. Would somebody please read that? So raise your hand. Just go ahead, start reading.
All right.
You got to read it.
It says, houses to the Grove. Kutztown will shortly extend to the noted outing grounds known as Kemp's Woods. 3 cottages beyond Schleichler's. 3 neat cottage houses, each one placed in the middle of ample grounds, will be built between James Schleichler's residence and Kemp's Grove on the Allentown Road. B.F. Ryder, Milton Dietrich, and Frank Schell, the former president, and the latter 2 employees of the Saucony Shoe Company, had bought Mr. Schleichler's adjoining lots of 80 feet front by 160 feet in depth each, and will commence building operations as soon as the season is favorable. Schell has the lot nearest, Schleichler's, Dietrich, the middle one, Ryder, the one nearest the Grove. In order to cut a straight line for the lots, Schleichler exchanged with John Kemp some front along the road for a corner of the Grove in the rear. Kemp retained the timber. The lots will cut a part of Schleichler's orchard, which gives the new residents some fruit from the start. The price paid for the ground is $2.50 per foot front. The houses are to be 2-story frame buildings, cottage style, standing back from the road with a terrace facing the road. There you have it.
There's the 3 cottages, and they still stand today. At the corner of South Laurel and Main Street. Back then, South Laurel was known as Lane Avenue. Right, those 3 right there. Okay, the movement started to save Kemp's Woods and stop development. Excerpt from the August 17th, 1901 copy of the Patriot. Andy, would you read the part that I've outlined in yellow?
All right. The last vestige of oak forest that withstood the blast of centuries and escaped the woodman's axe to the 20th century in close proximity to this town is this patch of 8 acres known as Kemp's Grove. It has become a spot dear to almost every man, woman, and child because for nearly a century the Sunday school and private picnics have been held there. In this scene of many once bright days, but its time has come too. There is a business side to every question, and that is generally the most important side. We have arrived at the point where it is more profitable for the owner to cut down and cut up the land into building lots than have it stand without bringing any returns. It will be cut down unless the present move or some other arrangement prevents. It is on the market now, and the best buyer gets it.
The interesting thing about that article, and it was dated on August 17th, 1901, is it says it goes back almost a century, so that would have been the late 1700s to early 1800s. Early 20th century into Kutztown Park. There's not going to be a whole lot of these right in the beginning of this war, so Andy,
I get to read that.
yeah, you get to read. There's volunteers.
Woodmen may spare it, and the Patriot again rises to remark that now is the time to act, as here it will be forever too late. Mr. Kemp gives us option until the middle of next month. The most vital local question of the hour is whether we will buy Kemp's Grove and turn it into a public park or not. It is a question that must be settled before long and settled once and for all. 2 months hence it will be out of date, as by that time it may not have a base to stand on. The proposition as it confronts us now is the people of Kutztown and the vicinity can buy the grove now and preserve it for themselves and coming generations. If they don't, some other anxious buyer will get it, who will cut down the timber and cut it up into building lots. For years, the questions have been agitated, and there always was a strong sentiment in favor of preserving the grove. Now it has reached its acute stage where it is taken out of the field of discussion and transferred to that of action. John Kemp, the owner, is desirous that the grove will be preserved. With him, it is a business question strongly tingled with sentiment. He is going to sell it, but would rather sell it for preservation than destruction. For this reason, he has given the Park Association now forming an option on the grove until the middle of next month. The price is $350 an acre for an area of 8 acres or more. The grove has a frontage along the Eastern Road, or Cottage Grove Avenue, as it is now called, of 1,000 feet. The trees are mostly white oaks of fine growth, fine foliage, and venerable age. Mr. Kemp offers the farther inducement that he will take $800 down and let the balance stand for indefinite time at 5% interest. The price is reasonable, as everyone will see who knows the value of building sites and wood leaves. The people should buy it, and the Patriot is of the opinion that they will. If the right course is pursued, let the soliciting committee make a house-to-house canvass at once, as it gives every citizen a chance to contribute his share to this important public enterprise. Let each one subscribe according to his means and according to his heart's dictates. Now is the accepted time.
Now, this was way before it ever became a municipal park. They formed a park association similar to what would be like the Kutztown Fair Board. It's formed, the Kutztown Park Association is formed, and stock certificates are issued at $1 per share. There's a copy of one of the certificates from here.
All right. The grove is bought, stately fathers of the forest to continue to shelter children of man. The deal is closed, and Kemp's Grove will remain as a park and also as the last remnant in this immediate section of the original hardwood forest. The time limit during which the committee had the option expired on Monday. B.F. Reiner, chairman of the Committee on Ways and Means, went to Topton that morning, paid down part of the purchase money and returned with the agreement duly signed. The terms of the agreement are that Mr. Kemp will convey to the Kutztown Park Association the grove covering an area of 9 acres and 4 perches for the consideration of $3,158.75. This is at the rate of $350 an acre. Possession will be given on the 1st of April. Mr. Kemp will accept a part payment of $800 and will take first mortgage for the balance of the purchase money. The greater part of the cash payment has already been secured by subscription. It is accepted that now, as the park is rapidly changing from a theory into a condition, subscriptions will come in even livelier than they had up to this time. An encouraging feature is that sons and friends of this section are interesting themselves in the worthy object and are sending in contributions without waiting for a request. Dr. N.C. Schaefer, State Superintendent of Lancaster, sent in $5 together with his each best wishes for the success of the movement. He writes that he had hoped that either the borough of Kutztown or the trolley company would buy it to save it from destruction. Another letter of similar import follows. Okay, here's an aerial view of Kutztown from back in the 1920s. Where you see the trees here, that was the original Kutztown Park, right there. Following the 1903 season, an athletic association is formed, and the Park Association has approximately 4 more acres of land to build a baseball field, which will be leased to the Kutztown Athletic Association, added in 1904. Hey? You want me to read that one too? All right. Grading ball ground, Kutztown will have one of the finest athletic fields in this part of the state. The capital stock of Athletic Association was fixed at $500, which money will be used for grading the ground and erection of fence. Shares are being sold at $1 each. Everyone on town and vicinity that is in favor of our borough represented in the athletic world is willing to contribute to get the ground in condition. The plot of ground bought by the Park Association has enthuse the older people who seldom think of witnessing any kind of sports to come to the men who will sell shares and ask to put their names in the book. Some have taken as high as 5 to 10 shares. A force of men are at work leveling the ground, and after it is finished will be one of the handsomest and more desirably located athletic fields in this section of the state. A number of Hellenic baseball enthusiasts take such a deep interest in their new pleasure ground that they work their whole day free of charge. Some of the men are digging post holes for putting up a fence, others taking the bark off the posts, while those who have a college training are surveying and manage the grading of the field. The men are harmlessly working together. The Park Association purchased a tract of land for the town, but since it is so desirably located, it will probably often be used by outside parties to play championship games. The capital stock of the Athletic Association was fixed at $500 to be divided into 500 shares, the par value of each share being $1. A certificate of stock will be issued, signed by the president and secretary of the association to every person that takes one or more shares. A meeting was held on Monday evening in the music hall and was called to order by President Dr. E.J. Sellers. Solon A. Stein acted as secretary pro tem. Isaac Grimley was elected secretary of the association. At a previous meeting, sent word that it was impossible for him to attend the meetings and could not accept the office. William S. Rode was nominated and elected as permanent secretary. Charles L. Ahn, who is chairman of the lumber company, reported, and after a lengthy discussion, the association agreed that half of the boards be bought from John A. Schwarter and the other half from James S. Hefner. C.J. Rode, the lumberman, is furnishing the posts at 20 cents each. Arthur Malone, Solon A. Stein, Edgar J. Stein, and U.J. Miller were appointed to manage the work in leveling off the ground. Mr. Malone was also instructed to secure 3 baseball bags from A.J. Reach, Philadelphia. The next meeting will be held on Monday evening, July 25th. I need glasses.
Okay, there's the same aerial picture. That one right there is what they bought. There's a baseball team, a very early baseball team at the Kutztown Park. I don't know what the name of the team was. Does anyone guess?
Was it baseball or softball?
I believe it was baseball. The Kutztown Athletic Association baseball team, that was from 1922. That's the names of the players that are on the front of the card. Notice there's a lot of local names. Shite, Pleasure, Conrad, Surface. We are now at the point where the Kutztown Park is no longer a privately owned park. It is a public park run as an association, similar to the Kutztown Fair Association. It is doing this time when the park becomes an amusement park of some sort. There will be a banquet hall, a dance hall, and eventually a roller skating rink, band shell, shooting gallery. For 2 years, a steam training, the carousel, bumper cars located in the scooter building, a ball field with a grandstand and bleachers. There were church camps, concerts, fairs, not related to the Kutztown Fair, boxing matches, a restaurant, picnics, and other forms of amusement for all. The park also has a major stop for the Allentown and Reading Traction Company, the trolley line from Allentown to Reading. A set of Allentown and Reading trolley cars arrive at the Kutztown Park entrance to deliver campers for the church camp at the Kutztown Park. They brought their beds and chairs with them. See there? Rocking chair. And these are campers in the Kutztown Park. It's a church camp. Fireworks, the first is 1908 and then again not till 1983, and it's a sad story to tell why that happened. I'll read this one, Andy. Tragedy strikes in the summer of 1908. Independence Day, July 1908. The probably most appalling accident that ever occurred in the park happened when a young lady who was blossoming into a woman who was killed almost instantly by a defective skyrocket from the fireworks display. No one dreamt that such a catastrophe would be the climax of a day full of enjoyment for everyone to add to the tragedy. The young woman killed in the accident, Miss Katie Malcolmer, aged 19 years, was to be married to her fiancé, Mr. John Briner, just 2 weeks later. As a result of a coroner's inquiry, the official cause of death was listed as accidental, and the directors of the Kutztown Park, as well as the fireworks company conducted the event, were exonerated from any wrongdoing. Then, the next summer, another tragedy. Summer of 1909, the steam train that is operating in the Kutztown Park derails and some folks are injured. After the 1909 season, the steam train goes to a new location. The following article from the Allentown Leader. Andy, you can read it.
Mishap at the park. Miniature engine jumps track at Kutztown. On Thursday, while the Episcopal Sunday School of Reading and the Lancaster Automobile Club were spending the day at Kutztown Park, a serious accident occurred. The miniature railway was doing a thriving business, and the 3 cars attached to the small engine were well filled. While rounding one of the curves in some manner, the engine jumped crosswise upon the track, causing the coaches to overturn, and the passengers were thrown out. 6 of them were injured by being bruised and cut. 4 of the injured were from Lancaster, and their names could not be learned. The most seriously injured was Mrs. M.H. Berlin of Reading, who was thrown against a barbed wire fence. Her forehead and cheek were badly cut and lacerated, while she suffered from innumerable bruises about the body and limbs. It is feared that she is also internally injured. Miss Sharp of Reading also suffered slight bruises. Mrs. Berlin is the mother of Mrs. Clifton von Ziegenheim of North 6th Street, who was also at the park at the time of the accident, but fortunately did not care to ride upon the cars and so was not in the accident.
The steam train at the Kutztown Park that jumped the track and injured people. The train went elsewhere in 1909. It was a part of the amusements at the Kutztown Park. They actually used to bring in amusement vendors. They didn't set up their own amusements. The vendors came in and set up the trains and stuff, and they didn't make much money, so they left after 2 years. There's another shot of it. The banquet hall and the auditorium. Now that does not look as big as the roller skating rink. So I think there are 2 buildings. The dining hall looks smaller than the dance hall skating rink. I believe this was a separate building from the dance hall and ice skating rink. Notice how narrow it is. The skating rink was 3 times that width, maybe even more. These are the restaurant staff. The Park Restaurant, circa 1900s. Who remembers the old Park Restaurant?
Yeah.
You just tore it down not too long ago. Okay, that was a good place to go to for playing pinball machines and food. The fire. When I was a kid, the fire company was running the Park Restaurant in the park. Center of the park, caretaker's house behind the restaurant, scooter building. Right there is where Jay Jordan Miller and his 2 brothers grew up in the park. They lived there for many, many years. Their dad's name was Clarence, and mom's name was Catherine. The oldest brother was Ronnie, and then Jay, and then Tommy. Tommy was my age. He was a year younger. But there was a little house there, and when you walked in that door, the first thing you came to was a small kitchen. And then to your right, there were 2 bedrooms, and then if you walked from the kitchen to one more room, that was a very small living room. But they lived there, it wasn't a tough thing to do. It was very small. And there's the rest of the scooter building. And see, there's a fence along the baseball field there. Inside, the operation of headquarters of the rink. I don't know who that kid is. Is Kathy? No, Kathy.
What?
Who's that kid, you know?
That's Mikey.
Is that Mike?
Mike, he's a grown-up now.
Yeah. That's your brother.
Yeah.
That's your brother. That's Mike Idle's son, Mike. The roller skating rink started before it was demolished by the borough of Kutztown. I have a long story to tell on that, but not here. The interior of the skating rink. Jay Druckenmiller, Michael Island, and his wife Shirley. That's Kathy's mom and dad. We all know Jay. Yeah. They used to charge to go ice skating, 45 cents a ticket. But that wasn't in our time, that was a previous time. And then we had advertisements, Park Roller Rink advertisement. Then you could also dance in there. They had tickets for that too. That's what took place at the roller skating rink. Roller park, or whatever they call it nowadays. Everybody thought that was going to create a lot of problems in the park, but it hasn't. It's used every day, and there's no problems. The Centennial Sandbox, gifted the town in 1915 when Kutztown was 100 years old, and it's still in use today. The Kutztown Lions Club actually paid to put a new roof on there about 10 years ago. This is before the band show. They had a band staying. And that building to the left, I'm pretty sure it's the restaurant. Okay, now we're going to get to the dedication of the band shell, and to do that, we're going to have Robert Grimm stand up and read an article that was in the Patriot. Go to the next page, Andy. Let's see that's Robert Grimm's grandfather, and here's the article. Go ahead, Thomas. Read it.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yep.
Fortunately, I have a library to read.
Before
Before I start, I do want to give full credit to, I don't need to Jason Graver, who's sitting over here in the third row. Jason found this address for me. Jason, as you may know, is the Kutztown University historian. And if you ever want to know anything about Kutztown University, he's got it all. But thank you again, Jason, for finding this. This is 1914, and my grandfather, James S. Grimm, was a professor up at college. Now, it's then called the Normal School, and was asked to be the main addresser at the dedication of the band shell. So, this is not a long speech, so don't worry. In fact, it's something like the Gettysburg Address because it's short and even has some words in it. I think my grandfather was really a scientist as opposed to a historian. May have been influenced by Abraham Lincoln. It's called The Gospel of Relaxation. The people of this neighborhood should rejoice in the preservation, care, and management of this park. It means much in their lives. Well located at a healthy site, overlooking rich farmlands and our bustling town of ample size, with a moral tone, this park should be a source of joy to all. We've been preaching for years the gospel of work. We are ready now to preach and to practice the gospel of relaxation. We need opportunities for rest, relaxation, and wholehearted social intercourse. To live completely, to seek welfare as well as wealth, requires a community sense of getting together to promote the common good. We are met here today to dedicate this building. Here's Abraham Lincoln. We are met here today to dedicate this building to the cause of music and to listen to one of the largest and best bands of the country. Music is the sunshine of the soul. The master artists like Wagner and Bach and the rest were sculptors in sound. Their creations are immortal, like the plays of Shakespeare. Music is more subtle than literature. Through it, soul speaks to soul. There are three kinds of music: music of the heel, of the heart, and of the head. Many people fail to appreciate art of heel or muscular music. Great music has changed the map of the world. It has federated peoples of varying beliefs. The great Lutheran chorale on Fachterberg and the Stabat Mater Dolorosa of the Roman Church are examples of religious music that have made history. An appreciation of music begins far down in the animal world. The crooning toad, the chattering chipmunk, and the fiddling cricket furnish the rudiments of our oratorios and majestic symphonies. All people love music. Its appeal is universal. Indians, at times, wove the songs of their souls into fabrics. They seem to us to sing better with their fingers than with their tongues. As we dedicate this building today to the cause of music, may we hope that it may be the means of creating here a genuine musical atmosphere, that it may awaken an interest in and a desire for good music, a kind that shows some taste and refinement, that it may mean that Kutztown will become a musical center to which hundreds of strangers may come weekly to enjoy themselves and profit by what they have heard. There were 6,000 people at the dedication of the band shop. They came in from college from Allentown and Reading. Yeah. When I grew up, the population of Kutztown was 3,000, and that was a lot larger than 1901. Can you imagine 6,000 people? It was quite a thing back in the days when you didn't have TV and radio. George Herb wasn't there. Grandfather had to be heard. I don't know how he did it, but quite a thing. 6,000 people at this location.
Well, thank you. Good job. Out in front of the band shell, built in 1914 in the pavilion, added in 1922. Still a very popular part of the Kutztown Park. The bilingual sign paid for by the DPAC, Germany, and the Kutztown Area Historical Society, German Heritage Center, KU, and the Borough of Kutztown. The band shell before the pavilion was built, and take a look at those benches. Those benches right there, about 7 rows. Those are the same benches that are in the band shell today. And then they were added on to when they built the pavilion. There's another shot of the band shell before the pavilion. And at the top there, and if you go back a couple slides, Andy, you can see it better. Another one, one more. Yeah, right there it says Schwab. The guy's name was Schwab. Charles Schwab was his name. He was president of Bethlehem Steel, and he had something to do with building that band shell. And the interesting thing for me is my wife's grandfather was Charles Schwab's chauffeur. He used to chauffeur wherever he wanted to go. Moving on. That's after they built the pavilion, and notice all those benches that were in the pavilion are now outside the park. And that picture, by the way, was taken by Nevin Hensinger, which was Sandy Lavi's uncle. Okay, now this is a new thing up in the Kutztown Park, and there's a reason for that in this sign, and you'll figure that out in a moment. Right there. The arch. And thanks to McGonagall's pointed out to the borough of Kutztown, people would drive down that lane, and all of a sudden they realized there were steps there.
As we watched it from our front window.
And then they would pass through the park on the grass. They went back all up. They drive through the grass. They have pictures of that too.
Yes.
One of the last buildings still standing from the days of the park when it would have been considered an amusement park, the scooter building. They used to have bumper cars here. Today, picnics, bingo, and other events are held here. Back in the early 2000s, a former public works superintendent had his eyes set on tearing this and the band trail down due to the cost of his maintenance budget. Those of us in Borough Council didn't let that happen, specifically Matt Idle. He and Ed Seiler and me, we took that superintendent over the coals. He was successful in tearing down the skating rink. But I'm not going to mention names. They even had boxing in the Kutztown Park. I knew this many years ago with my dad, Brooke, who was a boxer in the park and who never got knocked out, according to him, I believe him. I tried to teach me boxing when I was about 10 years old. My mom, Catherine, would get upset when Pop would give me the lessons. I will, however, say that his lessons did help me in defending myself growing up as a teenager and later standing in line in the mess hall in Germany where we would be messing around. Another view of the soccer building, scooter building, the basketball court is where the carousel was located. The carousel actually came from Dorney Park. This is a picture of the carousel, and then they built a building around it which burned down in the 30s. The carousel located where today is the basketball course, according to an article from the issue of the June 1916 Patriot. Andy, would you read that one? This is about the carousel.
Kutztown Park in fine condition. Formal opening on Memorial Day brought good crowd, merry-go-round, a popular feature. Kutztown's playground, from present indications, will be more popular this year than ever before. The opening on Tuesday, Memorial Day, was indicative of big things for the park this season. The grounds are in fine shape and everything was spick and span. The dancing pavilion was a merry place on Tuesday evening. The past-time orchestra, composed of 8 young men of town, are conducting the dances and will endeavor to put the floor in good shape and to give good music. They need a little encouragement. The big attraction at the park this year will be the merry-go-round. This amusement is housed in a big octagon building with cement floor. The machine is built strong and safe. It contains 20 animals and 2 coaches, and all the animals are newly painted, and the entire machine makes a fine appearance. The electric organ attracts many and plays good music. The building furnishes plenty of shelter in case of rain. The merry-go-round was erected by Jacob Plain of Centronia, who owns and operated the carousel at Dorney Park for years. He is anxious the people a very nice, safe, and clean amusement. The Kutztown band rendered a very fine concert on Tuesday evening, and it was listened by a very large crowd. There you go.
And there's the shooting gallery at the Dorney Park. You wouldn't find that nowadays. I would have enjoyed doing that though. The Kutztown Park Association over the years struggled to stay financially afloat, and it became apparent in the early 1930s that eventually they would go bankrupt. Along about 1935, the Borough Council was given permission by the citizens of Kutztown to purchase the park from the Park Association for $16,000. Since 1935, the park has grown and expanded in Maxwell Township. There are 5 different baseball fields, a multi-purpose field, tennis court, pickleball courts, and 2 basketball courts. Today, the park is a total of 43.24 acres. In 1959, Little League Baseball started and was sponsored by many different service clubs in Kutztown. Today, the KYAA manages the park baseball programs, except for ball games and the Legion Field. Legion Baseball was founded by Hope Ball Theaters of the North American Legion Post 480, and it still continues on. Following are the many pictures from the Kutztown Park's past and present. An early postcard entrance to the park before the band show was built. Once again, the band shell, this is Burgess Herman welcoming the World War I veterans home. There they are marching on the baseball field. And if you look, let me get this. Right there is the building where the carousel was in. And that was the grandstands, and then our bleachers right over here. Plus fencing. Another shot of the vets. They were drilling on the baseball field. Notice the fence going down the third baseline. Picnicking in the park.
Jimmy, was that fence there while we were growing up? I remember the fence there. It was the same one.
It was still there. Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see a better picture than your uncle took later on. Picnicking in the park. Shot of Park Avenue, and I think you heard earlier, it was actually called Cottage Avenue, and that was because of the 3 cottages that were built between the Land Avenue, which is the South Laurel Street in the park. There's another view of the Main Street with the trolley line. Back then, Main Street was a dirt road. There's the brand new steps, looks like, but that's not the most recent ones that the people tried to drive down. Church camp in the park. Notice Kutztown Tent Company. I bet that guy made a lot of money whoever made that. Notice all the tents set up. The pavilion or summer house for the trolley riders isn't there anymore. Probably blew over or something, I don't know. Once again, the dining room. Entrance to the park. That's the restaurant up there, and there's the roller skating room. Much bigger building than what you saw previously for the meals, for the dining room. Main entrance. This was taken on the west side of the band shell before the band shell was built. Look at the swings they had back then. Pretty heavy duty. That's for us Pennsylvania Dutchmen who ate too much. 1907 in the park. Picnic in the park. It says we stopped at the park to test the seesaw and the swings. There's the Alberta's Band. The Alberta's Band came to Kutztown to play. More swings in the park. And the Kutztown Band. The Grimm family, August 6th, that's what it says in the postcard, Bob. I don't know if that has anything to do with your family, but they're all waiting there for a trolley car. A souvenir from the park that was sold in the old park restaurant. The image on the pennant is that of the old restaurant. That's what it looked like. And then they had a Kutztown skating club. That was back in the 50s, according to the calendar. Who remembers Burslers on the right forward? This is an interesting place. At the park restaurant, they used to sell souvenirs, postcards, water pistols, etc. This is a very interesting souvenir. Would somebody care to read that?
Yes, it is.
It's kind of interesting.
Mr. Big Rooster said to Miss Little Hen, you haven't laid an egg and God knows when. Miss Little Hen said to Mr. Big Rooster, you don't
Come as often as
you used to.
we saw back in this stuff. This is an interesting piece. Remember the old penny football game in the corner of the park restaurant? This was This particular, and I think it might even be the same one, is located in the train station at Disney World. I was at Disney World twice with my granddaughter and stuff, and I took pictures of it, I swear, and you could put a penny in there and play it. That's what it was in the Kutztown Park. Does everybody remember that?
We're not as old as you.
You just didn't play the pinball. Another neat picture from May 1910, the building with the park was the old park restaurant where they sold the lunches and souvenirs. You saw that picture before. Here's the bank shell again, where it says Schwab up at the top of it. That's not there anymore. I want to show that one before. Okay, the church camps preachers. Apparently those were all ministers that came to the church camp. There's a military camp in the Kutztown Park. Park playground with the centennial sandbox and the neat sliding boards and swings. The borough had to get rid of those sliding boards, and there was one that was like a swivel going down, and that one still exists, but it's in a Mennonite schoolhouse. You'll see a picture of that. That was the auditorium, apparently. That was long before they built the band show. Does that one still say Kutztown? There was an Allentown tent. Oh, that, yeah, Kutztown Tent Company. The summer house. Now here's the band show that was built by this time. Another article for you, Amy, about the early 1930s. The Kutztown Park Association was not doing well financially. The borough of Kutztown apparently decided to take over the park in the mid-1930s. There were apparently 2 special elections that in the end gave the borough permission to buy the park and to take out a loan to make it happen. From this point on, it became a municipal park in the year 1935. That's up there. The Kutztown Park, as a municipal park, will be 100 years old. Andy,
All right. Vote approval of the purchase of Kutztown Park for a borough recreational center. Citizens again approve a $16,000 loan. Council plans to ask FERA for financial aid to make improvements to the park. At a special election Tuesday, Kutztown citizens for the second time voted by a decisive majority approval of the purchase of the Kutztown Park for a borough recreational center and approved a $16,000 loan to provide funds for that purpose. 2 questions appeared on the ballot. On the first proposal to buy the park, the voting being 211 for and 106 against. The first ward casting 115 for and 55 against, and the second ward 96 for and 61 against. The second question, the making of a $16,000 loan, won by a vote of 209 to 111. The first ward casting 110 yeas and 63 no votes, and the second ward 99 yeas and 48 no votes. The first favorable vote cast at a general election last year. In the meantime, it was discovered that the Park Association was unable to give a clear title, and the Farmers Bank and Trust Company came into possession of the property through foreclosure of a mortgage it held. And this necessitated a second formal approval by the citizens. Although no definite plans have been made for the future, Borough Council has tentatively decided to appeal to the FERA for financial aid to make necessary improvements to the park. Some of the fine trees in the park need attention, and others have died. The borough would like to replace the dead trees and generally beautify the grounds. Playground equipment will also be added.
I don't know if anybody took notice, but lately, but the last year or 2, the borough has been cutting down some trees in the park, and that's because they're sick. We had an arborist look out and stuff, but we are replacing trees with new trees in the park. The reason we're doing this is a few years ago, I don't know if anybody remembers this, over in Bowers, at the Bowers Park, a diseased tree actually fell over and killed somebody. So we can't have trees that are going to start falling over on us. So that's why we're cutting down old trees in the park. The arborist says they're sick, they gotta go. Moving on.
Alright. Legion baseball season begins Sunday at Park. Diamond will be dedicated. Dedication of its new ball diamond in Kutztown Park and a giant triple header will mark the beginning of Legion Little League in Kutztown Sunday, May 24th. Activities will get underway with the dedication ceremony at 1:30. Speakers at the brief ceremony will be Daniel W. Sham, Jutton, and George E. Bellis, Activities Director of the Pennsylvania American Legion, and Burgess Tyra T. Moyer, Charles Jack Hemmig, Chairman of the Berks County American Junior Legion Baseball Committee, will be Master of Ceremonies. The first game will be at 2 p.m. and will see the auxiliary police and the JC teams of 8 to 12-year-old youngsters providing competition. These teams will be first to play on the new diamond and also the first to play in the new league uniforms. After their 6-inning contest, the Lions Club team will play the Rotary team at about 3:30 o'clock, and the Grange team will engage the Gun Club team at about 5 o'clock. Seating for 175 spectators will be provided, and a public address system will be used throughout the day. As the rules used will differ slightly from those followed in adult baseball, especially in regard to base running and substitutions. The address system will be used to explain any action or umpire decisions which might otherwise be confusing to the spectators. Although a roster of 15 regulars and 4 alternates for each team has been previously reported, it was decided at a meeting of Director Charles B. Sokol and the managers and coaches of the 6 teams that all 19 boys assigned to the team should be placed on the player roster. Interested individuals and groups have donated funds to provide uniforms for those boys not previously issued uniforms, but they may not be available immediately. Each team must enter a minimum of 15 ball players in each contest. Program Chairman Max Danner announces that the league programs containing complete roster and information about the league have been prepared. They are entirely supported by advertising and will be distributed to every household in Kutztown free of charge. After Sunday's program, all subsequent games will be on a weekday at 5:30 p.m. Monday will see the Lions Club team play the auxiliary police team, while the Gun Club will play the JCs Tuesday evening, and the Grange will meet Rotary Wednesday. The scheduled games will be found in the baseball calendar on the sports page of the Patreon and will be listed 1 week in advance.
And Gitchy Blau is one of the big backers, so getting that little league going.
The Lions Club Little League came right on the float during the Sesame Centennial Parade in 1965. Service is coming.
Next Wednesday, June 19th, is Circus Day in Kutztown when Christine Wallace Brothers arrive in town for 2 big performances. It is the first that such a large circus has ever played in this immediate area. In the 3 huge rings, there will be acts from all over the world. There will be aerial acts high above the heads of the spectators, wild animal acts, elephants, lions, and tigers, well-trained horse acts with the famous Christine family participating, and of course there will be clowns and more clowns with the life of the youngsters. The Kutztown appearances are being sponsored by the Kutztown Fire Company, which will share in the sale of advance tickets. The show travels in 33 giant trailers, buses, and trucks, and carries an administrative and working crew of 147, in addition to 96 performers. Although the show has been streamlined to make possible the handling of such a project, Christiana Wallace Brothers is the largest traveling tent circus still in existence. The true elements of the typical American circus have been preserved and carries its own band. The Big Top is larger than any canvas arena ever to go on tour. It'll be set up on the baseball diamond at Kutztown Park. Instead of heavy and cumbersome wooden poles requiring excessive amounts of labor, the show carries all aluminum telescoping poles for easy handling. Grandstand chairs are also of aluminum with plastic backs and seats. This is the first time armchairs have been used by a traveling circus. Performances are scheduled for 2 and 8 p.m. Tickets can be purchased by Fenstermacher & Son, Val's Drug Store, Riley's Mobile Service Station, Herb Electric, Harry W. Little Farm Implement Dealer, and the officers of the Kutztown Fire Company.
A lot of good names from the past there, huh? 1963, I remember that.
Do you remember what happened after the circus?
Yeah.
When the truck got away?
Yeah, no, I forgot.
And came down and crashed into Dycher's house.
That's right. Oh,
They
yeah.
took off the whole back of the house.
Yeah, kind
Yes,
of.
it did. It was
The
bad.
main thing I remember when the circus came saying was me and a bunch of other guys in the surrounding neighborhood, we went over to watch them set it up and they had a truck with the monkeys and stuff in there, they were throwing stuff at each other.
Yeah.
But I did actually get a ticket to go in. So in '63, the circus came to Kutztown to set up on the main ball field. There's people standing in line to get in. The annual Easter egg hunts have a history that goes back to the 1920s when the Kutztown Fire Company started them. Since then, the defunct Kutztown Days did them up until the 1980s, when the Optimist Club of Kutztown took them over.
The annual egg hunt attracts hundreds of local children. Kutztown Fire Company hunts 1,200 eggs on park grounds, 27,000 since 1920. No less than 1,200 eggs died by the auxiliary were hidden on the ball ground and under the trees at Kutztown Park Easter afternoon by the House Committee of the Kutztown Fire Company for the children of the community. Never knew that there were so many children in Kutztown, reports Floyd Ferguson, a member of the sponsoring committee. 32 prizes totaling $11.50 were also awarded. One at $1.25, 10 50-cent ones, and 21 25-cent ones. Incidentally, the $1.25 one was originally a 25-cent one, but someone for a joke added a dollar sign, and Titus Adam was generous enough to pay the total, which was won by Edward Rentschler. Ralph R. Jr. won both a 50-cent and 25-cent prize, and Dallas Oswald 2 25-cent ones. Other winners were 50 cents, Richard Robinson, Goldie Strunk, Jane Bieber, Ruth and Fern, Adam, Richard Deischer, Elaine Hefner, Clark Sell, and Ralph Sterner. 25 cents, you had Leroy Hess, James Grimm, Arlen Yerger, David DeTurk, Paul Prince, Anna Schmoyer, Jack Wilcox, Robert Welder, Robert Art, Nancy Niles, William Miller, Reba and Robert Angstadt, Marlene Dietrich, Diane Angstadt, Robert Garner, Zarthi Ridenauer, and Doris Sawyer. Sponsors included Anson Benikoff, Floyd Ferguson, Claude Wolf, Arthur Reifinger, and Warren Grimm. 27,000 eggs. Jacob Kemp, who is nearing 76, has assisted in boiling the eggs ever since the fire company inaugurated the Easter treat for the town children in 1920. Since the average donation has totaled 90 dozen, he has superintended the boiling of no less than 2,250 dozen, or a grand total of 27,000 eggs. Anthony Benikoff and Paul Reiner also assisted in boiling, making use of 7 kettles. Also at the fire hall, Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. were the following auxiliary members who dyed the eggs in rainbow colors. Mrs. George Edel, Mrs. Fred Shade and daughter Joanne, Mrs. Carl Adam, Mrs. John Reed, Mrs. Russell Schick, Mrs. George Fox, Mrs. Robert Madeira, and Mrs. Ray Hoke. During the afternoon, they were treated to soft drinks by the house committee. For dining, the eggs were laid on large tables, the ensemble presenting a most colorful appearance. After they had cooled, the house committee placed prize marks on some of them, and on Easter they transferred them to the park in crates, then into buckets to facilitate the hiding process. And following the hunt, the town children could be seen hurrying home to show their parents what they had in their baskets and in their pockets and purses.
Kutztown Optimist Club Easter egg hunt in the newer part of the Kutztown Park. They're not real eggs anymore, they're plastic.
About 12,000.
Kutztown Legion baseball team from the 1950s. Charlie Sokol was the coach. That's Charlie and Eric. Does anyone recognize any of these players? If not, move on. One of the most famous Kutztown Legion ball players was atop the native and Kutztown Legion player Wade Miller, who eventually played Major League Ball for the Houston Astros. Drafted in 1996, he played ball at the Kutztown Park. So I thought that was pretty neat. I don't know where he is as far as his career nowadays. I didn't take time to research that. That's when the Legion team won different championships. The new Veterans Monument located on the South Laurel Street entrance to Veterans Way is sponsored by the Kutztown Vietnam Veterans Breakfast Group. The monument cost $16,000 and was paid for by donations from the community. September 20th to 24th, 2023, the Wall that Heals, the monument in Washington, D.C. that honors the 58,781 vets who died in action during the Vietnam War. The traveling Vietnam Veterans Wall visited the Kutztown Park along Veterans Way. In the 4 days, there were 9,000 to 10,000 visitors, of which over 1,500 visitors came from most of the schools in the East Penn Valley and the city of Reading. The wall was sponsored by local organizations and was organized by the Kutztown Veterans Group and Kutztown Community Partnership. This is the guys from Kutztown, the Kutztown area that went to Vietnam, and right there I am.
Thumb to the right of you, Jimmy.
Oh, yeah, you are. Well, many of the Reading School District kids that came to Kutztown to visit the wall, they have busloads of them from all over. Nighttime version of the wall that heals. The truck that hauled it. There is a procession from Fleetwood over through Topham and into Kutztown, bringing it into Kutztown. The mayor welcomes the wall and its visitors to the Kutztown Park. Eddie Carrier, who is the leader of the Vietnam Veterans Breakfast Group, carries a panel that has the names of his former platoon members on it who were killed during a major firefight which Eddie was a participant of and got wounded. The volunteers from the overall Kutztown community who helped assemble the wall that heals. Volunteers receiving directions in assembling the wall. And there they are assembling the wall. This is to honor all the Vietnam veterans who have fallen and who are fighting illnesses and will fall from being exposed to Agent Orange. The defoliant herbicide used to kill the vegetation that was hiding the enemy. Little did we know it would make many of us sick and eventually take out our lives as well. One of the local veterans whose name is on the wall was Larry Hope from Topham, PA. Another one that was on the traveling wall, who was a Kutztown High School graduate, was Captain Charles Hine. He was killed in action on January of '69. He is interned at Gettysburg National Cemetery. He is the only Kutztown veteran that went to Vietnam that got killed. The two leaders who were a huge part in arranging the wall, the company Kutztown Area Historical Society, head of the Vietnam Veterans Breakfast Group, and former Mayor Sandy Green, who was head of the Kutztown Community Partnership and also the person in charge of the Veterans Banner Program. Speaking of the program, the Veterans Banner Program, which was started on Veterans Way in the park because became very successful, not only in the park but throughout the community. The first ones to be put up were the Vietnam, were the veterans, Ernie Wester and his son Joey, then of course my brother Cliff and his son Aaron, and my son Dan and me. Over the course of history of the Kutztown Park, there are annual events. One has been held annually since 2007, Kutztown Day, another the Kutztown Rotary Club, 1907. Another is the Kutztown Rotary Club, Taste of Kutztown, the only event where alcohol beverage is allowed in the park with permission of the mayor. And the annual concert series sponsored by the Band of Kutztown and paid for with donations from the great general community. The first picture will be from the Taste of Kutztown. Thank you to the Rotary Club for loaning us their pictures. The Kutztown Rotary Club raises thousands of dollars annually for the Kutztown community every summer at the Kutztown Park with their Taste of Kutztown event. There are many different vendors that participated at the Taste of Kutztown. So you can see the place gets really filled. Those are different vendors. The sandbox is put off limits to anyone during the event due to broken glass ending up in the sandbox. That actually happened one year and it caused the borough a small problem. From the Golden Avalanche Brewery in Kutztown, there it is set up there. The concert series in the park, sponsored by the borough of Kutztown for donations in the community, a very popular event in the park since the 1980s, when Councilman Pat Conrad got it started with 3 concerts a year. Since then, early 2002, Park and Recreation Director John Schmoyer has grown it today to 17 concerts per summer. All of them are free concerts. Kutztown Community Choir singing at the Flag Day concert. The Flag Day Concert Orchestra. This is a poor picture, but it's Richard Kelsner and his son, Rick. Richard Kelsner and his son, Rick gave a history lesson on the different American flags at the concert. Sadly, Dick passed away this past year.
We will miss those flags. As part of the community choir, we always enjoyed seeing the flags and hearing the history of that, so we will
Well, I'm
miss
working on the
those.
borough trying to put new flags up in there.
Oh, good.
I'm working on it, I promise. The Scouts have a flag burning ceremony to properly dispose of used worn out flags during the Flag Day events in the park. That's actually my granddaughter there. That's Addie. This is the Buccaneers band, ready. The Fabulous Grease band. The Ringville band. Concerts in the park, band shell. It's always well attended. You keep moving, Eddie. The first Kutztown Day. Oh. You didn't want to read it. The first Kutztown Day. Kutztown Day has a history that goes back to August 11th, 1907. In the 117 years since the beginning, it has been canceled only 4 times. The first was during World War II, and most recently was during the dreaded pandemic. Now you can read it.
All right. Kutztown Day in our park. Centennial relic will likely be dedicated, good music, literary program to be rendered. Supper will be served to defray the expenses of noted Winonia band, great day, and large attendance to look for. Kutztown Day in our park on Sunday, August 11th, promises to be a memorable one. as it is on the first day that the Centennial Monument will be dedicated, if the necessary arrangements can be perfected. The day should indeed mean lots of the residents of our borough and vicinity, as most everybody is reaping good results from the prosperous times. It is not more than proper that we should, in a proper manner, show our gratitude for the prosperity we are enjoying. A literary program, including suitable addresses for the occasion, will be rendered. Supper will be served for 25 cents a plate, which will enable people to spend the afternoon and evening in the park without returning home for supper. As there are no services in most of the churches, it will give our people an opportunity to spend a day in the park. The Winona Band of Shillington has been engaged to furnish the music. The supper will be given for the purpose of realizing funds to pay the band, and liberal patronage is hoped for. Conrad Gehring, former resident of Kutztown, who was active in having the monument erected in 1876 and who is well known in this section, has consented to deliver the dedicatory address on this occasion. Further details will appear in next week's edition of the Patriot.
That was 1907. The Centennial Monument today stands at the Kutztown Area Historical Society. It's right outside that side of the building over there. The gift to the town when America was 100 years old in 1876. The actual eagle on top of that somehow got stolen, so they don't have the original eagle on the monument. That happened a long time ago. Possibly the first Kutztown Day in 1907. The postcard copyrighted in 1907 by E.J. Sellers, who had a drugstore here in Kutztown. Sewing contest, probably the first Kutztown Day in 1907. Nail hammering contest, probably on the first. We should bring that back.
No, the men were sewing, so maybe they were still up to
You know, students, the women
The Happy Dutchman and the Mayor entertain at Kutztown Day 2019. Anybody want to buy a bomba? I got one. 1 of 3 Kutztown concerts in the park, Kutztown Day 2023. Flamin' Dick and the Hot Rods perform an Always concert on Kutztown Day 2022. They're coming back this year, by the way. Bingo in the Scooter Building on Kutztown Day 2023. Scott Troop 101G with their sausage sandwich stand. The Historical Society and the Library information stands on Kutztown Day 2023. Quick Tournament, Kutztown Day 2024. Shoe Fly Pies by the Virginville Grange, Kutztown Day 2023. The Kutztown Grange used to do it, but they got away from it because they didn't have enough members to pull it off anymore, from what I understand. Pie baking contest, Kutztown Day, I should say 2024, actually. These are the judges. Raffle ticket sales to help pay for the events on Kutztown Day. It's my son Dan Scott, leader of Troop 101G, joined one of the troop's great sausage sandwiches. 2022 was the last year for the Brass Rail to be at the Kutztown Day event. They were a favorite at Kutztown Day since the mid-1980s. It did, however, reopen at the Allentown Farmers Market. I always loved the Brass Rail. Kutztown Fire and Rescue, formerly Kutztown Fire Company 1, always comes to Kutztown Day with displays and for the fireworks, just in case we need them. Members of the Kutztown Optimist Club plant trees in the park, and they run the Tri-Star games on Kutztown Day. And if you're on the Quake Tournament during Kutztown Day. The Kutztown Lions Club provides ice cream for children who may need classes. Members of the Kutztown Rotary Club collect donations at the band concerts on Kutztown Day. Always kid games for everyone. Medivac often shows up with folks to check out the chopper. That's Fire Chief Todd Evans standing there. The Kutztown Police Department always shows up with the Kinner Car program. We have a free raffle for bicycles, so children can win bicycles. Then at the end of Kutztown Day, the event is celebrated with a beautiful fireworks display. This is this year's Kutztown Day committee. Annie's the chairman, Michelle Sanders is the treasurer, and members myself, A. Schaefer, Holly Ford, John Schwartz, Jared Coffin, Barb Coffin, Lee Ross, Florida Hopau, Rose Galino Phillips, and Jill Fitzgerald. Save the date, Kutztown Day this year is August 3rd. And we need boots on the ground to help pull the event off. It's a long day. We need folks to set up and tear down raffle tickets and be there to assist during the day. Contact anyone on the Kutztown Day committee to volunteer, so you can see me afterwards. The following are just pictures of the Kutztown Park. The Keith Haring statue known throughout the world. Here a group of visitors from Germany came to Kutztown to film the film festival and visit the statue in 2019. Mayor Schlegel congratulated Chief Michael Cleary on celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Kutztown Police Department. Henry Zimmerman with his new bike in the Kutztown Park. Looks like the pavilion from the bank shell is still under construction. That was a Devin Hensinger picture, right, Sandy?
Yeah.
That's Sandy's dad. The view of East Kutztown from the ball field looking towards the west. Notice the first two houses on Levan Avenue, later to be called South Laurel Street.
Is it Brooks' home and
your grandfather's house. July 2nd, 1923. The Carson and Lillian Schwartz family in the Kutztown Park. When the 60th centennial celebration of Kutztown was happening in 1965. The two boys are John and Jeff. John is today's Park and Recreation Director, and Jeff volunteers here at the Historical Society with other volunteers for property maintenance. Mayor Moody Mertz, who remembers Moody Mertz? She joined a hot roast sandwich in the park during the borough's sesquicentennial. The Kutztown Area High School band played in the band shell for the 1965 Kutztown sesquicentennial. That's the record of Bill Moore. The 1960s era merry-go-round, which the borough's insurance company didn't like anymore, in Kutztown Park.
I only fell off of it once.
The 1965 graduating class at Kutztown Area High School here, having their baccalaureate service at the Kutztown Park Bank Shop. From the original concert in the park series in the days of black and white. Kutztown Park listening to the band. Ladies with hoops in the park, anyone who knows what this is about. Notice the band shell in the rear before the pavilion circa the 19-teens, perhaps 1915 when the borough was 150 years old. Yeah, 100 years old. The Kutztown Centennial Educational Package. The soul of the question. Another historical pageant during the borough's centennial. A bear, a kid, a pony, and a wagon in the park. We don't let that happen anymore. A week after the first Kutztown Day, check out the lightweight lawn chairs. A different camp meeting, a little girl reaching out for something. Kutztown Battalion in the park during the celebration of the borough's centennial. This is how I'm looking out the back window where Farrell Stein lives today, but the picture was taken by Devin Hensinger. View of the ball field from Devin Hitzinger's second floor back window. Notice the fence and bleachers. This would be the same view from Farrell Stein's house today, but today you won't see the fencing. And then the playground again. A new addition to the parks from the Kutztown Community Library. They have a storytelling. You have different little stations you can read about certain books that they're promoting. The master park plan study paid for by the state grant back in 2009. Some of the things they recommend have been implemented both at the Kutztown Park and the North Park. The new, more modern playground that the insurance company likes. Remember the sliding board? Well, there it is. If you go out, right there, if you go out to Morris Cross and you go straight ahead of Bowers Road, the first schoolhouse you come to on your right hand side, you can see that sliding board today.
Jim, that was the Rotary Club that donated that.
Not to the Mennonites.
No, to the park.
Yeah, to the park. But they got ripped out. Because the insurance company didn't know it. A view of Kutztown from the park, early 19 teens. Here, before you change it, that building right there is the barn that still was used to build Kemp barn. The Kutztown post office is right there. This is my favorite picture out of the whole bunch. No germs in this water. You notice we all share the same cup. That well actually still exists, but there's a concrete cover of it up in the park. And that's the end.
What?
Before the fancy slide board and stuff, there was a tall sliding board and it had a bump in it.
Yeah.
Remember that? What happened to that? And what about
That's scrap. The insurance companies made us get rid of it.
What about do you remember the older merry-go-rounds?
Yeah, that got scrapped too. And all that old stuff got scrapped.
Wait, where about when?
That started up in the 70s.
The transition, you bought a share for $1 originally, and then it went to the next stage, and then the borough bought. What happened? Did those people get their money back, or how did that
I
work?
don't know.
Okay.
I don't know anybody that's lived in there. What's wrong?
With all the activity that took place, what kind of restrooms did they have?
Outhouses.
Outhouses, oh.
When I was a kid, in fact, you can still find the one foundation for the one up there at the range. We actually played Army in it when I was a kid.
It's closed now, that was built with cinder blocks. I went in when I was about 6.
Yeah,
So,
well, there was an
What is
outhouse
that?
there too. The men's outhouse was where that is, and the ladies was up on the green.
What do they use that building for now?
We just store stuff in there.
Store.
Any other questions?
The Kemp that had it originally, was that something to do, was he something with Kemp's Hotel, or?
I'm sure it was related to all the camps in the area.
You know, it's the same.
And Levan's, it was all the same drawing shops. Any other questions? Good, thanks for coming.